When the world breaks, INFJs rise. When the world breaks, when the noise turns into silence, when the masks fall off, and the chaos reveals its true face, most people panic, most run, most collapse. But there is a rare kind of soul that does the opposite. There is a rare kind of soul that steps forward, not because they are unafraid, but because they were born knowing that someday, their moment would come. And that soul is the INFJ. 1. The INFJ archetype, a soul built for the storm. You see, INFJs are not made for shallow waters. They are made for the depths, for the places where others lose themselves. When others chase after applause and approval, INFJs chase after meaning, truth, and the soul of the moment. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. Alignment with a calling they can't explain, only feel. They sense things. Before the world screams, INFJs already hear the whispers. Before the collapse, they feel the tremble in their bones. While others ask, "What's happening?" INFJs are already preparing, building, adjusting, silently. Strategically. Spiritually. Their minds are not ordinary. Their intuition is not a party trick. It is an ancient compass. A navigational force born from pain, patterns, and deep observation. And when the world breaks, this compass doesn't shatter. It sharpens. 2. Why INFJs break before they rise. But don't misunderstand. INFJs are not immune to breaking. In fact, they break more often than most. Because they feel more. Because they absorb more. Because they carry burdens that were never theirs but took on anyway, because they couldn't watch others suffer. Their kindness makes them targets. Their silence makes others think they're weak. But here's what the world doesn't see. Each time an INFJ breaks, they break open, not apart. Each fracture becomes a doorway. Each scar becomes a map. Each fall, a flight plan. Their pain is not wasted. It is converted into vision, into strategy, into leadership. You may never hear them speak of it. They don't need to. Their actions say everything. 3. The rise begins in silence. When the world breaks, people wait for someone loud to lead. But leadership does not always come with a microphone. Sometimes, it comes in the form of presence. A calm face. A clear mind. A knowing glance. And in the stillness, INFJs rise, not by force, but by resonance. They start healing wounds before others realize they're bleeding. They build new frameworks while others are still lamenting the broken ones. They teach, guide, restructure, and reawaken, without needing credit. Because they don't rise for applause. They rise because they must. 4. The psychology of an INFJ's resilience. Psychologically, INFJs process the world through introverted intuition and extroverted feeling, a combination that turns them into both visionaries and empaths. They see what's coming. They feel what others deny. And this dual processing makes them warriors of the unseen. But it's also what makes their rise so profound. Because it's not just strategic. It's emotional. It's human. They don't just solve problems, they understand them. They don't just rebuild structures, they rebuild souls. Their resilience is not about power, it's about purpose. 5. The world needs what INFJs carry. In a world that breaks under superficiality, INFJs rise through authenticity. In a world that spins out on speed, they bring stillness. In a world that divides, they connect. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. When systems collapse, the INFJ does not seek to rebuild the same thing. No, they seek to transform. To upgrade. To evolve. They were never here to maintain, They were born to reimagine. And that's why the world needs them more when it breaks. Because INFJs are not merely survivors. They are silent architects of a better future. 6. Emotional story. The INFJ in the ashes. Picture this. Everything around you has crumbled. The relationships you thought would last have ghosted. The career you trusted has turned to dust. The voices you believed in have gone quiet. And you, standing in the ashes, feel like maybe this is the end. But something inside you says, no, it whispers, this is the beginning. That's the INFJ's inner voice. That's the quiet thunder. It doesn't scream. It knows. It knows that from these ashes, something divine will rise, not because you're lucky, but because you've been here before. You know the language of endings. You know the taste of betrayal. You know the silence of being unseen. And yet, you rise. 7. INFJs and the power of solitude. The world fears loneliness. INFJs use it. In solitude, they strategize. They reflect. They meditate. They rebuild their inner sanctum. Solitude is not isolation, it's preparation. When the world breaks, INFJs do not panic because they've already been building on the inside. Their identity does not collapse because it was never rooted in the external. It was rooted in meaning, values, and soul alignment. They don't rush to fill the void. They become the void's answer. 8. The INFJ's call to serve in chaos. There is something sacred about the way INFJs serve. It's not performative. It's not opportunistic. It's sacred. When the world bleeds, they move toward the pain, not away from it. They offer comfort, strategy, insight, sometimes all at once. Their presence becomes a shelter. Their insight, a lantern. And though they may not lead with titles or followers, they lead with truth. And truth is the only compass that works when the world has lost its way. 9. The shadow side, the risk of rising. But rising is not without cost. INFJs often rise quietly and are misunderstood. Resented. Used. They give and give and give until they are depleted. The risk is being seen as strong, and therefore never offered support. But INFJs must remember, your rise is not meant to destroy you. Your rise is sacred, and sacred things must be protected. So protect your energy. Protect your boundaries. Protect your sacred rise. Because when you rise, others will too. But if you fall in silence, who will hear the cry of the healer? 10. From wounded to warrior, INFJs in history and myth. Throughout history, INFJ-like figures have risen in times of collapse. Visionaries. Mystics. Reformers. They weren't always liked, but they were always needed. You are not alone in this. Your pattern has been written into the DNA of sacred revolution. You are not random. You are chosen. 11. The moment the world breaks, again. And now, here we are again. The world is shaking. Truth is under attack. Empathy is low. Division is high. And people are either asleep, angry, or lost. But not you. You feel it. You sense it. You know it. And that knowing is not madness. It's mission. This is your moment, not to scream, but to serve. Not to convince, but to create. Not to fight, but to frame a new way forward. The world needs your vision. Your silence. Your soul. 12. The spirituality of the INFJ rise. You didn't come here just to live. You came here to transmute. To take brokenness and turn it into beauty. To take confusion and turn it into clarity. To take endings and whisper beginnings into them. You are a sacred bridge between what is and what could be. Between chaos and calm. Between fear and future. And so when the world breaks, rise, not in ego, but in essence. Rise in truth, rise in compassion, rise in creativity, rise in you. If you are an INFJ, know this: your quiet strength is not unnoticed by the universe. Your rise may be uncelebrated by the world, but it is sanctified by the stars. This is your time. When the world breaks, INFJs rise, not for glory, but for grace. Not to dominate, but to transform. Not because they want to be seen, but because they see what others don't. So rise, INFJ. The world is waiting for the healing only you can bring. Rise, reflect, rebuild. You were born for this.